Two friends, two time zones, and a shared love of stories.
I'm Freya.
And I'm Jamie.
Bridging time zones one chapter at a time.
Welcome to Once Upon a Time Zone.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Once Upon a Time Zone. This is a very requested video we are doing today, or a very requested podcast. You guys have been in the comments for a while and I'm very excited about it. Today we are going to be walking you through our ultimate guide to fantasy reading, I guess you would say. We're going to be talking about all the different types of fantasy because it's not just a staple name, you know, there's a lot of different subgenres within fantasy. We're going to be talking about beginner recommendations to get into that genre, the subgenre rather, talking about more advanced options. You might get some book recommendations, but yeah, we're just going to kind of be breaking down the genre because I feel like, especially if you're new to fantasy, such an overwhelming genre. Like, it's so overwhelming. So hopefully this will kind of show you that it's not as hard as it looks. And yeah, you might just have fun listening along. But of course, before we jump into all of that, Jamie, what are you currently reading?
Okay, so yesterday, I was reading Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. I did indeed finish it. I think it was overall a really cute story. So for anyone who doesn't know what it's about, it's the same author who wrote the Emily Wilde books. So it's another cozy fantasy, but this one is set in 1920s Montreal, and we follow a cat rescue owner who is looking for a new place to rent to have her cat rescue in, but her options are slim because not a lot of landlords want to be housing 50 cats in their property. So she's having trouble finding a place. She comes across one, and the person who's there is finally seemingly accepting her to be renting there, but she's noticing there are some weird things. There's just an odd vibe about this place, but she's like, this is my only choice. I'm gonna go with this one. But when she moves in, she starts noticing some weird things happening, like some weird people start entering the store and kind of acting weird, and they seem not like your regular person. But she kind of ignores it for a little bit 'cause she's like, I just paid rent for this place. I'm just gonna turn a blind eye and pretend nothing is happening. But more weird things keep happening, and she has to come to terms with the fact that her landlord is actually using her cat rescue as a front, and he is actually running this secret magician's shop kind of thing behind the scenes that is very, very illegal. So this kind of spurs a lot of things into action, and yeah, they get more involved and need to figure certain things out. But this book is very cozy. It's very cat filled. Yes, we were talking about a cat rescue owner, but the amount of cats in this book is incredible. The cats, they're not main characters, but they're very prominent secondary characters, and they definitely add things to the vibe and to the main overall plot. They also have a lot of personality, to their own, so they're all very unique, and you can tell Heather Fawcett actually knows cats because they don't seem very that fake stereotypical type of cat. She knows the actual quirks and peculiarities of being a cat owner and what these cats tend to do. So that part's wonderful. And I've been comparing this book to Howl's Moving Castle a lot. There are just a lot of elements that remind me of Howl's Moving Castle. The magician character also reminds me a lot of Howl in a lot of ways, and they're dynamic too. So I love that also. So yeah, it was a really cozy read. I wouldn't say it's perfect. It's one of those books that is really cozy all the way through, and then the last 10% of it just changes into a different genre, and it goes from 0 to 100. Okay. And it's just what? How did we get here? We were just running the cat rescue for 90% of the book, and then all of a sudden, where did the stakes come from? So, okay. It was one of those, but apart from that, I thought it was a really, really cute read. Would still recommend it. And the next book I'm actually going to pick up after we finish recording this is another cozy fantasy. So I'm going to read The Elsework Express by Samantha Sotto Yambao. Yeah. Yeah. Gorgeous cover. Yeah. So pretty. I don't know too much about the details about this plot, but basically the Elsewhere Express is a magical train that helps you find your purpose or something like that. So our protagonist is feeling lost. She needs to find her purpose again. I think she's she's like a musician, or she has something to do with music, and she goes onto this train and she meets someone there who I think is an artist, and I don't know. It's very Samantha Sotto Yambao's writing. If it's similar to Watermoon, is very Studio Ghibli, so another Ghibli vibe.
Yeah.
So that's just my mood right now. But I think it's going to be very just whimsical, magical, lots of descriptive, kind of like magical environments that the train probably takes us to. So it's going to be that kind of a book. I'm excited to read it. Yeah, I'm excited.
I haven't seen anyone, like, I feel like I've been seeing it everywhere, but I haven't actually seen reviews of it. So I'm excited to see what you think. I've been seeing it in the bookstores and stuff, and I'm just like, it's so pretty. It's just one of those books that you like want to pick up without even knowing a single thing about the plot,
Yeah.
purely because of the cover. So incredible, like, cover design, props to them.
Yep.
But I'm so curious to see what you think of it. You're just like lapping up the cozy fantasy whilst it's still cold.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, we're starting to feel the brink of spring. Actually, as I'm looking outside my window right now, I just saw a snowflake. Just kidding.
Not yet. Toronto's like,
We're-
yeah, not quite yet.
We're at that phase right now where we'll have one warm day and it'll be like, ooh, smells like spring. And then the next day it snows. And then it's like, it just keeps teasing you. It's like, okay, it's warm. It's like, okay, now it's like -13 again. I feel like today
That's
was
crazy.
a warm day though, until now, until that, oh, there's more
Until the
snowflakes.
snowflake.
Okay, never mind. We're still in winter, guys. What are you reading though?
So I am about 50 pages, maybe a little bit less, away from finishing Broken Country, which I talked about yesterday as well. When we say that, by the way, we had a little reading sprint yesterday on Patreon. That's why.
Not to be
we know
annoying.
yeah, we just know what each other is actually reading this time. But I like weirdly addicted to it. I kind of was last night, I didn't have a lot of time and I was like, I need to get an early night tonight. Like it's one of those nights. And I was like, I'll just read like 10 pages or so. And then I feel like you probably know it gets to that point in the book where I'm just like, no, hang on. Like I need to know a little bit more. I'm just going to read like a few. I ended up reading like almost all of it. And then I was like, okay, no, I actually need to go to sleep now. And then this morning I got up and read a tiny bit. So I'm going to finish it after we finish filming as well. But for those who I don't even know how to really describe this plot without a lot of spoilers. We're set in the 1960s kind of, but we also have like dual timelines going on. I guess we're following a love story that didn't work out.
Yeah, it's like the one that got away, kind of like a lost love situation.
You can't really say a lot, can you, without giving away spoilers?
Not too much.
It's a historical fiction. There we go. So, new for me, but I have really, really enjoyed it. I was very scared because everyone had warned me about the dog scene in the beginning, but you're right. It kind of just like happened. It wasn't in detail or anything like that. So that was completely fine. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it so far. Like it's quite dark. Like, I don't know. It's quite a lot of emotions going on here. I'm a little bit confused and I don't really know where it's going because something big just happened that I didn't actually see coming. And now I'm like, how is this going to wrap up? But yeah, it's been good. And then the next book I am getting into is Recursion by Blake Crouch. I am so excited to get into this one. I think the thing that convinced me is when you said, if you like Inception, you'll like this. And Inception, like whenever I tell people like my top 3 favorite movies or like movies that describe my taste or something, Inception's always in there.
Yep.
So I'm so excited to get into this one. And I feel like since then I've been seeing so many people recommend a lot of his books. Like I've seen Faith going through a lot of his books. So now I'm like, oh, if I like this, I've got a whole new author to kind of delve into. And all of his books are on Kindle Unlimited. That never happens. So I can literally just like read them all. So yeah, I'm very excited about that. But I'll keep you updated on that one. I'm a little bit nervous, but I think I'm going to enjoy it. I've got like the night off tonight and I'm just going to sit down and read it. I'm so excited.
That's a dangerous one to start at night though, because that's another one I feel like that you will not want to stop reading. Like,
we'll start it early.
Yeah, give yourself some time because you're going to be hooked. You're going to be like, what
Okay.
is happening, and you're going to be hooked, and you're just going to have to keep going.
Well, even the premise, like I really didn't know the premise until I put it on my TBR. And even then I was like, oh, this is interesting. I can't even quite remember, but it's like, is it like a sickness or something?
Yeah, there's like an illness that's spreading, and we're following
Yeah.
a detective who's trying to figure out what's going on, but people are getting all of these false memories that didn't actually
Yeah.
happen in their lives. So it's like they'll have memories of a husband that they don't actually have, or like children that they don't actually have, like just a whole other life. And there are some like really horrific things happening because people are getting these memories, and our detective is trying to solve what the heck is going on.
That sounds so much fun. No wonder you loved this book. It's like the amnesia trope to
The
a
mem-
max.
well, yes. Yes, it
I
is.
love that. Oh, I'm so excited. I'll keep you updated on that one. I feel like I'll be reading it pretty quickly. I've been waiting to like read it because I've been kind of away and going back and forth and stuff. I was like, I know that like once I start this, I'll want to continue it straight away. So I need like
Yeah.
when I'm at home.
Yes. I'm so excited. I love that. You're experimenting this week. You're just
I
diving
am,
out.
right? I'm being very brave. I'm very proud of myself.
Yay. Claps for Freya.
But yeah, we actually don't even, we were just saying before, we don't really have any current bookish updates or anything to go into at the moment. So we're going to dive into today's video, which is probably good. We've got a lot to go over. We're going to try and keep it snappy. We'll try not ramble too much.
Yeah. The best we can.
So we're going to start at the very beginning. I feel like this is the original fantasy, if you will. We're going to start with high fantasy. The way we're going to do this is basically go through each subgenre and give you beginner recommendations for this genre and advanced recommendations, and kind of draw off them to help you explain what this genre constitutes as, I guess, what this
Yeah.
subgenre means. So yeah, hopefully it'll be easy to follow.
Yeah. Word of a warning. A lot of the books we're going to talk about today are books that we probably have talked about many,
Yeah.
many, many times. But this is basically just an episode of our ultimate guide to this genre. So yeah, we're
Yeah.
not going to dwell too long on each book and like the specifics of the plot synopsis and everything, but more of just explaining why these make a good like beginner read or a good advanced read. So
Yeah.
that's today's episode. Hope you guys enjoy it, even though you've probably heard of many of these books.
Yeah, probably, let's be honest. All right. The first subcategory we're going to be talking about is high fantasy. So we're going to start with beginner high fantasy. Jamie, do you want to give us your recs and your kind of thoughts on this little subgenre?
Yeah, so this subgenre we're talking about if you want to get into just pure high fantasy, kind of medieval high fantasy, I guess you could say, just very fully immerse yourself in a magical world. So I have two recs on my list for this one. My first one is very basic. It is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I feel like this one is just really good for a beginner high fantasy because like, yeah, some people call it romantasy because it's Sarah J. Maas, but I would say this is definitely more of a high fantasy with a little bit of romance in it, like a touch of
Yeah.
romance. And also, I think this one is really good to begin with because, I mean, Sarah J. Maas herself wrote this when she was, what, 16 years old? And
Yeah.
so when you're reading Throne of Glass, it is very simple to get into. It's so easy that you won't have many questions of like, what does this mean? What does this mean?
Yeah.
Because everything is just laid out very easily for you. But as you go on through the series, it does, I would say, get more adult as it goes on. It definitely gets more complex. There are more things that are happening. You expand a lot more on the magic and the world and just politics and complex storylines that all merge together. So it is a fantasy series that starts basic and ends a little bit more complicated. So if you are just getting into high fantasy, I think this is one is like an awesome one to start with.
Yeah.
Because by the beginning of the series, you're a beginner, and by the end, you're an expert, and it just grows along with you. So I think this one is absolutely wonderful for a beginner. But if you don't want to get into a series, you want a standalone, I would actually say The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang is really, really great for this. It's epic in a way. It's definitely high fantasy. I always kind of compare this one to Avatar: The Last Airbender because there's kind of this elemental thing going on with the magic. But I feel like ML Wong is one of those authors that explains everything so easily to you. Her writing is so, 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 so digestible. And because this book is so elemental magic based, you don't actually need to use your brain that much to understand how the
Yeah.
magic works. It just feels very natural to the world. And so the fantasy part is very easy to understand for me in this one. And the story is more about the characters and the politics and what they're going through. So you'll be able to ease into the magical world really easily and just be able to digest the story full of interesting characters and everything. So I honestly think this is a great beginner high fantasy as well.
Yeah. I do think, yeah, I don't like that Throne of Glass gets a rep of being like a romantasy because I do think it is a great place to start for high
Yeah.
fantasy, especially if you've never read the genre, or maybe you do read more fantasy with romance and you still want to like grasp onto that tiny little bit of romance throughout the series. But whilst you're there, you're also getting introduced to a whole new kind of world of fantasy.
Yep.
So yeah, no, that's a great recommendation. I feel like these almost build off those ones. Like I'd start with those ones and work your way to these. But my first one actually was Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I was like looking at my
Yeah.
shelf and I was like, you know what? This is actually a really good place not only to start in to get into the Cosmere, Brandon Sanderson's high fantasy universe. And I feel like the best way to, I don't know, describe Mistborn, like it's classic fantasy. Like when you
Yeah.
think of, like when you think of like a fantasy movie or something, it's just that classic, you're right, like a medieval world, but like throw some magic in there almost. And I feel like this very much gives it, it's like with villages and, the lower class and then the higher royal people and everything like that. But then the magic system on this one is a little bit more complex, but I feel like once you get your head around it, and I feel like Brandon Sanderson really explains this consistently, well, we know, consistently throughout
Yes.
the series, but as a beginner, that can be really useful, especially if you're not going to read his books back to back to back. Throughout this
Yeah.
series, you'll get a constant reminder of this metal like does this metal does this, like we're kind of based around metals, as I'm sure you guys know. But yeah, I just feel like it's a really great place to start for high fantasy, especially if you've read some fantasies before and just want to kind of get into the thick of it. I feel like it's a really
Yeah.
good place. The other one I have is Sabriel by Garth Nix. I feel like this is a really great beginner because it's a YA, technically. And we have that classic kind of hero's journey. Like we're following a big journey through this magical world and we're going to be fighting different beasts and mythical creatures. And like in this world, it's like the main kind of conflict is the dead won't stay dead. So you have like this kind of unique spin to the magic. It's not just classic. Like it's a little bit of everything in there. And I feel like it's a very easy story to follow, but very captivating. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it gives classic fantasy in a very, very easy, digestible kind of way. And I honestly don't see a lot of people read this. And I'm like, you need to
Yeah.
read this if you're new to fantasy. This is where I started.
I mean, I'm thinking I need to read this because, yeah, I've
It
heard you talk
is.
about this one a couple times, and I'm like, that does sound kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I think this one as well was written, I think Garth Nix, the author, was really young as well, like 16, 17, when he
Ooh.
started this series. So, it's going to be easier to
Yeah,
understand as well.
yeah. Just find a young author. That's where you
Yeah, pretty much.
dive into beginner high fantasy with a young
Yeah.
author. That's the key. Okay. We can move into more advanced high fantasy recs. So if you want to dive just head first into it, my three recs for these are again very basic recs, but The Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. Speaking of Brandon Sanderson, yes, his writing is very easy to read. Yes, he does over-explain many, many things, but I think The Stormlight Archive is just a little bit more involved. Like there's just a
Like
lot
the
more going
politics.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, more of the politics. You're also seeing kind of more types of people from different parts of the world interact, and so there's just more to take in, more to remember. I think there's just more levels to it too, especially as you go on through the series. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, you kind of just unlocked a whole other dimension. Like, well, what are we doing here? Like,
Yeah.
how does the magic here work? So it's just a little more involved. There's a little bit more to it, but this is like classic high fantasy. You have a war-torn world. You have, yeah, kind of that still medieval kingdom type of a vibe, but a very, very big realm. We travel across the entire realm in all of our different POVs. It's very like you follow a lot of points of views in this series, but definitely a great, great classic advanced high fantasy. And then I would also say the Game of Thrones series or A Song of Ice and
Yeah.
Fire by George R. R. Martin, another classic. Also a great one if you want to dive into advanced high fantasy, but if you're a little intimidated, you could watch the TV show and read along. And so I
True.
feel like that
Although,
also like it always helps you guide along if you're having trouble picturing things or following things. It's good to have a visual guide and then you read it. And I feel like that also always makes things easier. Um, Word of a warning, series isn't finished. Will probably never be finished. So there's that.
the TV series is though, isn't it? Like they put an ending to
Yeah.
that one. So does it get to a point where like you can't? Because I've read the books. I don't know if I've read all of them actually. I don't think I read the last one or the last one that's published.
Yeah.
But I never read I never watched, sorry, the TV series because it was a little bit too intense for me. I was like, oh, it's very
Oh.
different to like reading about this stuff and then
Yeah.
seeing this stuff. I was like, that's a lot for me.
Yeah.
But I don't, yeah, how close are they? Like throughout the seasons, they're pretty
They're
close?
I think they're pretty close. I think the first season definitely follows the closest, and there's
Yeah.
definitely more to the books than you have in the show, obviously. That always tends to
Yeah.
happen with adaptations, but I think it's pretty close. It's just like the ending of it definitely veers off. I mean, they just kind of made
Yeah.
up their own ending, and
Yeah,
honestly,
they had to.
I don't know if we accept that ending for, ourselves. I don't know if we want to accept that. So, yeah, I would recommend the show. It is very shocking, especially back in the time. I feel like when it was coming out, it
Yeah.
was very different and very just out there for shows that we had at the time. I feel like now if you watched it, it would feel different because shows do tend
Yeah.
to just like go further than they used to. And I think it's because we used to be in a time of like network TV where
Yeah.
you things were a lot more regulated, and then now we're more into streaming services and things aren't as regulated in terms of content and content warnings and stuff like that, and that's why shows now just have a lot more graphic stuff in them. Let's just say that. But it was definitely very shocking at the time. But I feel like if you watched it now, it maybe wouldn't even feel that
Yeah.
shocking.
I think you're right, especially because of like what I've read now and stuff as well. I don't think it would be as intense. Maybe I
Yeah.
should go back and try it.
Yeah. I also feel like, because you watched White Lotus, right?
Yeah.
I feel like a complete different genre, but I feel like if you
Yeah, I was
watched
gonna
White
say.
Lotus and you're fine, I feel like you
Okay.
could watch Game of Thrones and you'd be fine.
Okay.
Because
Okay. Yeah.
White
So
Lotus
maybe it
crosses
was
a lot
just
of
like
lines.
it does. It really does.
Yeah. So that's Game of Thrones, and then my last one was just Lord of the Rings by
Yeah.
Tolkien, obviously.
Like,
It's
can you
a given.
mention advanced high fantasy without? I'm not gonna lie. I feel like you could dive into Lord of the Rings as your first if you want like true classic high.
Yeah.
Like, not that it's a easy world to understand, but if you want to just like jump in the deep end, I feel like you definitely could. Like, you
Yeah.
don't need background or anything to dive into this.
Yeah, it's like the blueprint of fantasy. I only put it in advance because I feel like because it
Well,
is
it
a
is.
classic, it's just
Yeah.
it's a little bit also just harder to interpret because of like the classic style writing. I feel like
It's not a Brandon Sanderson style.
having I mean the fact that the first Lord of the Rings book starts with like an info dump about hobbits and their whole history, I'm like, I feel like that would be a lot to take in
I love
at
that first
first.
page. I'm like, what am
I
I
love
reading?
it.
I was like, I remember, sorry, words. I remember when I first picked up Lord of the Rings when I was like in high school, I thought I'd picked up The Hobbit instead, like because it was just like
It's like
a roundabout Hobbit. And I was like, I was like, I picked up the wrong one.
this book
Already
is
read this.
largely concerned with hobbits. And then it goes on to explain hobbits. I love it.
Okay. My advanced fantasy Rex, I feel like another classic, Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Now, I will say, this is
Yeah.
another Game of Thrones type of situation, except I feel like even worse. If this book comes
Yeah.
out actually, I would say in my lifetime, but in our author's lifetime, to be honest, like, I'll be very, very shocked because it's been like 11 years at this point. Like, really? But I don't think that should stop you from reading the first two books in the series because I do think it is incredible fantasy. Again, a very classic epic quest. But it's just really fun. Like, we've got dragons and everything and princesses and royalty and the unconcerned hero and everything like that. It's just really classic fantasy. And again, I read it, I think, a bit after I read Lord of the Rings. And it just, if you're craving that, it really, really hits the spot. And then I also put in Will of the Many because I was like, I don't exactly know where this falls. Like, yes, it's definitely a bit more, or the first book is a little bit more academic high fantasy. It's like it's a bit of a genre blend in fantasy, but I couldn't really think of where else to put it in this. And I was like, you know what? I think we're gonna put it in high fantasy.
Yeah.
Just because it is a very, very, very complicated world system, world building. And you definitely have to use your brain for this one, but I feel like this is just a really great example of it's so worth using your brain for this one. Like, sometimes it takes you, I feel like, again, a very common theme with high fantasy, it'll take you like 100, maybe even 200 pages to really get into it. But once you're in it, it's like you've just been immersed in this entire new world and you really can't escape it. So it's like watching the first like 20 minutes of a movie, I guess.
Yeah, you always feel just like a little bit lost. But once it clicks, it's so good. It's so worth it.
It's so good. So yeah, those are my two. I feel like this one is a very done genre. We all know the classic high fantasies.
Yeah, I do like your point though about the dragons. Like, maybe your first fantasy should have dragons. Maybe that should be a requirement. You got to start with dragons.
I do love a dragon. I love mythical creatures in my high fantasy. I feel like that's another reason I love high fantasy so much because there's always, well, usually. There's going to be, no, there is. I'm just thinking of the books we just listed. There always is.
Yeah.
Going to be like beasts of some kind.
Some sort of, dragon or beast-like creature. Whatever it may be. Okay, we can move on to our next category. So this is fantasy romance. Lots of blurry lines with this one, with fantasy romance or romantic fantasy or romantasy, but we're grouping them all in one for the purpose of this video, okay?
Because Jamie and I literally had this conversation the other day. We always thought that fantasy romance was like a fantasy with a romance line in it.
Yeah.
And romantasy was largely based on the romance line and then like in a fantasy world and stuff. And then both of us have been like corrected by you guys and it makes sense that romantasy is like the opposite. It's the other way around. And I feel like that's just, until we all get on the same page with that,
it's going to be confusing.
That's a different thing. So we're just going to talk about any fantasy with romance.
Yeah. So this includes romantic fantasies, which has the least amount of romance.
Yeah.
Romantasies, which has like a medium romance, and then fantasy romance, which has the most romance.
Yeah, that's now the common consensus,
that's the correct order now.
Of.
Anyways, my first two recs for beginner fantasy romance are, number one, Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. Just like such a good gateway into the genre. I feel like it's feel good, it's easy to understand, it's YA, so you just blast through it so quickly, but it's also it feels nostalgic to read because it reminds you of fairy tales, I think. It's very fairy tale-esque. It's very whimsical. Even like the characters feel like they've stepped out of your childhood stories. And it just feels so fun in the best way. We also have a wonderful coupling that is, I think, a lot of our favorite couples of all time in this genre. So yeah, just a good one to start with. Also, the magic in this one, I feel like, is not very difficult to understand. It's also almost the type of magic that doesn't have rules. And that's why it feels fairy tale in that way too. It's just one of those books where the magic is kind of a vibe. Like, it's just there. You don't really need to question like how it works. It's just present and you trust it and you feel that it's there, but you're not going to get a full like description of the rules and of how it works. It's just a magical vibe. So good for beginner. And then also on my list is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I think this one is wonderful too, especially if you're coming from a background of romance or if you're coming from a background of historical fiction. I feel like this would be really, really great. Also because there isn't that much magic in this one. It's just kind of like a slightly magical world. There's some influence of gods and stuff like that in this world, but for the most part, it feels just historical. But there's another very romantic, lovely subplot in this one, or half plot. Subplot? Half plot? What do you call it when it's half and half? I don't know. Plot.
Yeah, because I feel like it's almost, to me, the romance in this one's almost like the forefront. I mean, maybe that's just why I read it, but
Yeah.
like it's a very central part of it. To be honest, yeah, you could just call it the plot because it does like drive our plot a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, we could call it the plot.
We'll
The
just call it the
romantic plot is wonderful in this one. And yeah, a good gateway into fantasy romance with just a little bit of fantasy, and you can dive into more fantasy later.
Yeah.
So those are my two.
My two are number one, The Rose Bargain by Sasha Payton Smith. This very much gives the selection / Bridgerton vibes. So if you're like just a sucker for like 18th century kind of, I don't know, romantic stories,
Yeah.
it's literally like Bridgerton, but make it magical. So it's such a vibe.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. It's so quick to read. I think the second one comes out relatively soon, actually, which I'm excited for. And it's like this fun element where I guess the magical element to it, again, it's not the forefront. You kind of don't question the magic in this either.
Yeah. It's just there.
But it's just there. Basically, our season girls, so girls who are not competing, are participating
Kind of, though.
kind of competing in this year's season. They can go to the queen of this world and bargain for a better quality, but they have to give up one of their own qualities or one of their own features for this quality. So it's like, I want to be a wonderful singer. It's like, okay, I'm going to take away your fingernails for that.
Oh.
So it's like bizarre. Or I'm going to take away your smile or something like that for a different quality. It's really interesting. And really fun. And I feel like just, a really easy plot to follow, but a really great little aspects of magic throughout it. And then the other one I have is The Crimson Moth. I was like, this is such a great intro into, romantic fantasy, I think we would call this one. Or is it romantasy?
I think this one's straight romantasy. I would say.
Because we do have like a good plot going on along, like, you know, it's definitely, there's a driving force in this plot. We're following like a witch and then a witch hunter. So that's really fun. And but obviously we have a really strong line of romance as well. I feel like this is definitely an intro into more kind of classic romantasy that you see, like your most common type of
Your
fantasy
kind of
romance or romantasy.
enemies to lovers, so to speak, kind of is angsty, going after each other type of romantasy.
Yeah. Advanced is a hard one. I actually had a really hard time coming up with advanced fantasy romance.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to hear your ones on this.
Mine's actually, I would say it's less romance, but I picked this one because the romance that is in it is done so wonderfully. So I chose Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon for a fantasy romance. And this one's definitely more of a romantic fantasy with like the least amount of romance in it, because this one, you could even say this was great for a high fantasy because most of it is high fantasy, but the amount of romances in this are like, they do take up a good portion of the book, I guess, because we follow multi-POV and each of them is going on their own journey, and most of them end up having at least like a hint of romance in their storylines. So there is definitely a good theme of romance going on. I would also say Samantha Shannon does slow burn in a fantasy romance. And
Wait, why
is
don't I know this?
unheard of. Yeah. Like actual slow burn. And like, her books are standalones, I guess, like interconnected standalones with prequels and stuff like that. But they're long books and they actually do like a good yearning slow burn properly. I would say. So
You need a long book for that.
yeah, you need some time for, oh my God, the snowflakes outside are so big. Sorry, I just got distracted. They're like, oh my gosh. They're like coin size. Anyways, that's really distracting. I need to not look outside my window. But yeah, great fantasy plot, great romantic subplots, also sapphic romance subplots, which we love. So it's also something we don't see a lot in romantasy or fantasy romance, I feel like. Sometimes we'll see it as like a side thing, like maybe a side character, but these books put them at the forefront, and I love them.
Yeah, you're so right. I feel like whenever people ask me for like sapphic romance recommendations in fantasy books, I'm always like, it's there. Like it's there, but it's not really what we're focusing on. And that's fine if it's like the, you know, the actual subplot of fantasy romance, like of the romance in the fantasy. But if it's a subplot along another subplot of romance, then I'm like, oh, is it there though? Like, it's just kind of, you know, I want more detail on it, and it's just kind of in the background.
Yeah.
So that's good. Oh my gosh, suddenly you've convinced me to read Prayer of the Orange Tree. This has been on my TBR for like a ridiculous long time.
I know, you've had it for a while. Okay, we need to do reading vlogs where you choose my reads and I choose your reads, and I'll choose this
What do I
one
even choose for you? You read, like, you get through, I'll recommend one book and then you're like, boom, read it. And I'm like, okay.
Done.
I'm done. I'm out.
Gotta keep
No,
them coming.
I'll just get all the books that like I want to know about. And so I'll just get you to read them before me so I know whether they're worth reading. Actually, no. I'll just choose all Cassandra Clare.
The entire Cassandra Clare universe.
Infernal Vices, The Last Towers, Swordcatcher.
I'm getting to them.
Gosh. I think it'd be a good reading book, guys. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. My advanced fantasy romance is When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker.
That's a good one.
I feel like this has a really great balance of, I always say this, it's got a really great balance of politics, plot, and romance. Like, I feel like all balance each other out really, really well. I am curious to reread this one, and I'm saving it for a reread close to the date of release of the second one, because I read this like when it came out, before it came out. I actually got an ARC for this one. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember, well, ARC, it was like indie published as well beforehand, but yeah, I'm kind of curious about it. But from memory, I really, really liked the balancing of everything. I feel like it's a really great kind of stepping stone towards some more high fantasy. Like, we've definitely got a lot going on plot-wise and, as I said, politics-wise. So yeah, I feel like it's a good little step. But then you've also got a romance that's pretty central that you can be following and yearning over and everything like that. I feel like it does enemies to lovers pretty well as well. I wouldn't say it's a slow burn by any means, but
No.
the girl was definitely pretty angry at it.
Yeah, like we definitely
Maybe
had some
one-sided.
hatred in there.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like this is a good step. This is the only advanced fantasy romance I could think of, by the way. Could not think of anything else.
It's difficult to think of an advanced fantasy romance because I feel like the nature of a fantasy romance is that the fantasy is going to be simple to follow because you're going to spend a lot of time on the romance, so you don't actually have that much time to build the fantasy part. So a lot of them tend to fall into beginner/intermediate, and it's hard to find an advanced one.
It really is.
We did good. I think we did good. Okay.
This next one's a little bit difficult for me as well. So I will let you take the lead because I feel like I'm still getting new to this genre, and that's urban fantasy. And I'm definitely enjoying my time in this genre, but it's one that I still, like, when I was looking at my bookshelf, I was like, there's like 2-3 books in this subgenre on my bookshelf. So I had to kind of really dig my brain for this one. But for beginner, the only one, and I'll just talk about it quickly, Shadowhunters, Cassandra Clare, anything Cassandra Clare.
All Cassandra Clare.
Guys, can you tell I like Cassandra Clare? Yeah, that's pretty much. I feel like all that constitutes urban fantasy is like, oh my God. I was about to say we're set in an urban setting. That's really great words, Freya. But like, I don't know how else to describe it.
I love using the word in the definition of the word that you're trying to define.
A city.
A city setting, yeah.
Yeah. A modern, sometimes past. Okay, what are your beginner recs for this?
So my first one for beginner urban fantasy is A Darker Shade of Magic by V. Schwab. I think this one is great. We get that urban setting because we're in London, but we're in a magical version of London, and we actually have 4 different Londons, all with varying types of magic in them. So the idea of a parallel universe London is just so much fun. And I feel like this one's easy to get into because V.E. Schwab, I think, just makes a lot of things accessible. Her writing is very smooth. It's not too complicated. She just presents things very easily. And I think because this one is set in a world that is kind of like our real world, it's not too difficult to understand what's going on. Like, we know London, it's just slightly different. Like, the river's there. It's just called something different now in these magical worlds. That kind of thing. Yeah. But I feel like it's easy to picture, too, because a lot of it, like the infrastructure of the buildings, you can picture what London looks like. And so that makes it easier to get into. And it's just such a fun story. Like, we talk about this series so often, but if you're wanting if you're wanting to get into urban fantasy, that one's definitely a good one. I would also say Red City by Marie Lu is a great one to get into in urban fantasy because where are we set? We're in like San Francisco or LA or something. We're in California somewhere. I hope I'm remembering that correctly. But the world is, while it's real world, it's easy to follow. We have an alchemy system that is also based on kind of real world alchemy. So if you're familiar with any type of alchemy that isn't magical or is kind of historical, you would kind of be able to adapt that information into reading this book. And I think this one is just, it is easy to follow because we're following 2 main characters. And so you're not having to jump back and forth too much. You just have your 2 characters that you need to know, and that's it. And there's like 2 main clans that are battling. So it's like there's not that much to think about. Yeah. But it's really, really fun, easy to follow, love it. And I would say for advanced urban fantasy, it has to be the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee. So Jade City, love, love, love. This one is definitely a bit more complex because the politics, I would say, are the most complex part of this. The magic part is easy to grasp, but because there's so much going on with this one, it's kind of like a more complicated version of Red City in some ways because we have a lot more players involved. And so there's just a lot more tensions and conflict that you have to follow and remember. So I'd say that one's advanced. But those are my 3 urban fantasy recs.
I think that's a good way. Yeah, because the actual, like, urban fantasy, the actual fantasy elements of it are usually not that confusing to get your head around. Like, sometimes it's a little bit odd to be reading, like, about your, especially if we're set in, like, a modern period, about, like, contemporary life, but then there's these magical elements to it. Like, it can be odd, but I feel like once you get your head around it, you're so fine. Where there is... Yeah, the complicated part, definitely comes in the politics. And I feel like with the Greenbone Saga, just our cast of characters, like we have a big cast of characters that we're following.
Lots, And
I feel like just getting your head around all of them and remembering who's who and how they're related to this and how they're related to this clan, like it's a lot. So definitely a good one though. I put for advanced urban fantasy, Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. I was like, you know what? I feel like I see a lot of people online saying how much, like, they love this series, but it took them a second to get used to it being in this world. Like, you know, it's classic Sarah J. Maas. We have her very classic kind of characters, but you put them in a modern world setting. So it's kind of hard. And I feel like this is very much, to me, this is like, which actually makes sense after I watched the podcast. I've always said it kind of just feels like her fun book because she throws in like every single magical being element possible to this modern world. And I'm always been like, okay, that's a lot going on. And then she said that like she was writing it as like her kind of, I don't know, what was it? Like her brain break? Yeah. And like she wasn't being too serious about it and then it actually turned into something. So I thought that was really funny. But yeah, it's just like modern day in a city, but just add whatever, like we've got werewolves, we've got demons, add anything you can think of. We've got mermaids.
Yep.
Like,
The mail carrying otters
like
that deliver
there's
your mail.
some bizarre things. But I will say at the beginning of every book there is like a kind of rundown of all the creatures you're talking about. So it usually
Yeah.
does help.
Yeah. And like what class they belong in and everything.
Yeah.
Like, it helps.
So I feel like definitely dividing it into different like houses helps as well. Like obviously
Yeah.
you've got like, yeah, the water people, everything like that. Okay, I'm so sorry. I promise this is the last time I'll mention her in this video. The other one is
Clare.
is Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare, which it is an urban fantasy, I would say, I think, because we're very much based in the city. I actually tossed up between this one. I was like, is it high fantasy? Is it urban fantasy? A bit of a genre blend, but I do think, yeah, if you enjoyed the Mortal Instruments, it's a very, very, very different vibe, but it's I just read Ragpicker King, some of the best Cassandra Clare work I have ever read in my life. So
Bold
yeah.
words.
Yeah, I know. I just never thought I would say that because Swordcatcher was like good. And so I kind of went into the Ragpicker King just on a whim. I was like, yeah, I just need to like get through this series. Now I'm
Wow.
like, this next book is going to be, because it's going to be a trilogy. I was like, I'm so excited to read this next one. But yeah, those are my ones.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to get into that one.
If I pick your reads for a week, you know what you'll be reading.
Yeah. Okay. Our next category is gothic fantasy. So I have two for beginner. These ones are definitely gothic fantasy romances, I would say. So
Yeah.
the first one is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. I am obsessed with this series. I love it so much. It's funny because it's one of those series where I think I only rated the third book a 5-star and the first two were like closer to a 4-star. But I would still say this is a series that I absolutely love. Like I adore this series.
Yep.
We have this very gothic setting of, I don't know, like gothic castles. We also have our protagonist that deals with death a lot, like the literal Grim Reaper is essentially a character in the story. We have a little bit of Regency courting vibes as well, so a little bit of that
Ooh.
era, and also murder mystery, and also ghosts. So it's just
We
like,
have so much going on.
it's so much fun. It's such a vibe. I love this series so much, but it's definitely easy to follow. It's another one of those series where the magic is just kind of a vibe. It's like you don't really question how it works. It's just there. It's fine, whatever. But that's definitely a great beginner rec for gothic fantasy. And then also kind of the grown-up version of Belladonna is Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. It's kind of like the spicy version. Although I will say, for YA, Belladonna is quite spicy. For YA.
Okay.
It's like not spicy for adult, but it's spicy for YA.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, Phantasma is just kind of like the spicier, slightly darker version. So similar kind of a vibe with a gothic like mansion environment. We have like devil type characters, like demon, ghost, devil type characters, and fun games and Phantasma. So those are my two beginner recs. And
Yeah.
then I guess I can go into advanced and then we'll go over yours. But my advanced one is Ninth House by Lee Bardugo. So I love the series. Freya doesn't, but that's okay.
It just traumatized me. I'm sorry I'm a sensitive reader.
It's a little too gory.
I'm just so sorry. I wasn't expecting Miss Lee Bardugo to pull that out.
True. Yeah, a little shocking compared to her other books. But these ones are set at Yale. They follow the secret societies of Yale, but make it actually magical. Like, we have, like, sacrifices and kind of, like, you know, weird secret society things going on, but it's, like, actual magic, tie in actual demons and stuff, and ghosts, more ghosts. But I would say this one is just a little bit more advanced to follow because if you aren't completely well versed in the secret societies, there is a little bit of information to take in, especially in the first book, because we do have like a lot of the secret societies involved, and it kind of almost expects you to know all of them and like some historical facts about them. So I found it a little bit just like a little bit of work to get into and learn about the secret societies when going in, but it's another one where it's like once you're in, it's so good if you can get past the gore. But I love this one. It's one of those fantasies that while I was reading it, I was like, I don't even know if this is fantasy or if this is real. Like, is this historical? Because it would
Yeah.
reference some things that I'm like, this seems kind of real. And so it kind
She did
of
her research.
yeah, it kind of borders on that. So I had a
Yeah.
lot of fun reading this. It also made me really want to go visit Yale and like walk around the campus and try and find the secret societies and just look at the outsides of them because like you can't go in, obviously, but just to tour around the outsides, be like,
Yeah.
I know that's the entrance to that one.
You know all the secrets.
Yeah.
I did like it. I really liked the vibe of it. Like the overall vibe was amazing. Like such a great gothic atmosphere.
Yeah.
Okay, my two, this is a genre I'm not very well versed in either. I feel like I definitely am a little bit hesitant to go into gothic fantasy sometimes because like sometimes it can be really dark and then
Yeah.
sometimes it's more just like the atmosphere is dark and when it's really moody and everything. The one that beginner, I always recommend anything by Rachel Gillig, to be honest, but like One Dark Window, The Shepherd Kingdomology. I feel like
So
it's
good.
just a really great stepping stone. It's got a good line of romance as well. It's kind of a good stepping stone from fantasy romance to, or romantic fantasy to gothic fantasy, I guess.
Yeah.
And I feel like, again, the gothic kind of plays a role in like well, no, actually, that's Night of the Moth. I was going to say Gargoyles in
Wrong
Night of
one.
the Moth. But she does have like a lot of like gothic elements that she kind of puts in to your magic system and puts into the world and makes it just that little bit more moody and like, yeah, just atmospheric. The other one, I actually don't know if this would be beginner or gothic. Probably, I thought beginner, but Immortal Dark by Tiger Skirma. It's very,
Yeah.
it's
I would say
kind of like,
beginner.
yeah, it's like academic. This kind of feels like a prequel to Ninth House in a way. Like this is a very,
That's true.
yeah, like we're set in academy as well, except this one you have like vampires and stuff. But a vampire that I wasn't used to, which is always fun. A kind of a twist on a vampire. Like they're very gothic vampires, I guess, if you want to say
Yeah.
it like that.
They function differently than your average vampire. There are
They're
like
no
more
Edward
rules.
Cullen.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was like a really great atmosphere. The plot was kind of like I loved aspects of it. I didn't love some aspects of it, but the actual setting of this and the actual atmosphere I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Advanced, this is really hard for me. The only one I could think of was Alchemized. Obviously, this is a very in-depth, detailed kind of gothic fantasy, I guess. Like, it's very dark. We're dealing with a lot of really dark topics. Both atmosphere is very dark and like the actual content explored is very dark. But yeah, we're kind of set in like this post-World War kind of vibe. So I don't know. This one, I feel like it's a little bit of a genre blend, but I really truly could not think of one single gothic fantasy or advanced gothic fantasy that I had read.
Yeah. I mean, there's like necromancy in it. I would say
Yeah,
that makes it pretty gothic feeling.
that was my train of thought rather. Yeah,
Yeah. Thought train.
thought train.
I love it.
Getting towards the end of the video, it's always the way.
Yeah, we're getting loopy. It's starting. Okay. Beginner historical fantasy is what we're going to talk about next. So I have a bunch of standalones. Actually, I think we have one overlapping for this one. So I'll let you do that one. But my first two
Okay.
are The Poet Empress by Shen Hao. Obviously, I need everyone to read this. If you still haven't read it, what are you doing? I have been screaming at you, Freya, to
Guys, we all know who that is
read
directed
this
to. Don't
one.
worry, it's not you.
Yeah. Who have I been screaming to? You. Yeah, this one is absolutely wonderful. I I don't know what more I can say about it because I've been just yapping about it forever
Yeah.
in all of my videos lately, but definitely a good one to get into. I think this one, like, the magic is also, it's not too complicated. It's based in poetry, but the way it works is pretty straightforward. So there's nothing too difficult you need to wrap your head around. And then it's just, yeah, more of a historical vibe. We're navigating this, like, era that feels very historical China kind of an
Yeah.
era. And this story is more about the characters. It's more of a character study in a slightly magical world rather than a full-blown fantasy plot. So I think this will be great for a beginner because of that. And then my other one was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Love this one. It kind of borders on just magical realism,
Yeah.
but I think this one is also a great beginner one to get into. We're only following one character across a very long lifespan, and you deep dive into her feelings about certain things a lot. And this one is great. I feel like it's also a good one if you want to get into romantasy because not I can't spoil things, but there's kind of a vibe between two certain characters in this one that like gets you going.
Yeah. It's the little
And
things.
it's in the little things. It's in the crumbs. And yeah, this one's a good gateway into a whole bunch of things, I think.
Yeah, it really is. I think the one we both had was
Yeah.
Song of Achilles by
Yeah.
Madeline Miller. This one, I feel like historical fantasy is kind of a funny genre as well because it really spans over a long period. Like when I was thinking of recommendations, I was like, I actually do think I know a lot more historical fantasy than I'm thinking of, but a lot of these are like ancient history and dealing a lot with like myths and everything like that. And obviously this one isn't like Song of Achilles isn't really dealing on a myth. It's like a trident, like, you know, a story that's been passed down, obviously, from ancient Greece. But, you know, we do have that kind of creative freedom that's been taken to
Yeah.
a classic historical story, which I feel like makes it quite unique. Like, this is really based off, like, technically, like a true kind of characters in a way.
Yes.
Like, or, you know, we want to be true kind of characters. We don't have any kind of proof. But then the other ones are very much just like set in historical periods. So I feel like this is a very, very broad genre. And you could probably technically tie in any fantasy romances or whatever that draw on myths because I feel like there are a lot of those these days. But this one just feels more
Yes.
classic. Like it really is
Yeah.
about the history rather than just, oh, Hades is here or something like that.
Yeah. Like, oh, Hades just showed up in
Yeah,
San
it's like,
Francisco.
oh,
What book am I talking about? The game's God's Play.
yeah, fantasy seeing you here. No, I read another one recently. I'm trying to think of what it was, but Hades was mentioned again, and I was like, oh wait, no, actually, I'll tell you after. But yeah, he was mentioned again. I feel like he's brought up so many times in fantasy books, and I'm like, what are you doing here again?
It is fun. It's kind of like a Where's Waldo? Like, where's Hades?
Yeah, it really is.
And when he pops up, it's like, oh, there you are. It's a fun sighting, spotting.
Yeah, it really is. I'll say my quickly advanced one because I haven't actually read it because I couldn't think of any like actually advanced historical fantasies, but Babel by R.F. Kuang. I was like, is that one?
Oh, yeah.
I was going to ask your clarification.
Yeah, it's definitely historical. It could also be gothic, probably. Like it's
Okay.
yeah. I mean, a lot of these
There
are
we go.
borderline. Could fit
Yeah.
into any
Yeah.
multiple categories.
Anyway, go with your advanced drags.
That's a good one. So my first advanced one is also an R.F. Kuang. It's The Poppy War, which you also need to read. So just
I'm not gonna lie. So I've had a few of my friends are getting into reading, guys. Woo! It's only taken me like 2 years. But no, both of them have actually gone and read. It's been worse for me. They've gone and read The Poppy War and they've come back and they've gone, I am fully traumatized now. I'm like, great. It's
now
like you guys are
read
meant to
it.
convince me. Like no, genuinely, like they're traumatized and like questioning whether to continue the series because they weren't ready for that. I don't think they saw like they didn't know what they were going into. Like I know what I'm
Ooh.
going into.
Yeah.
And I was like, you poor things.
Yeah, you got to build yourself up for this one for
Yeah.
sure.
I think I'd be fine considering what I've read, but
Yeah. It wouldn't be easy, but I think you'd be okay.
one day I'm going to read it and I'm not going to tell you, and then I'm kind of going to come on the podcast and I'll be like, everyone, look what I just read.
The day that happens will be the best day of everyone's lives. And by everyone, I mean me.
All right.
But yeah, definitely a great
Great
one.
option.
It's definitely very based in history. There are parts of this book that are literally based on real historical events, which makes this book even more difficult to digest. I think that's the toughest thing about this one is that a lot of it is based in real history. But I love the way R.F. Kuang does this in almost all of her books is she ties in so much real world history and puts a magical spin on it, but you're really learning a history lesson at the same time. And it's just
Yeah.
so informative. It's wonderful. And then my other one I had for this category is The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door by H.G. Perry. This one's a standalone, definitely a little bit more easy to digest, not as traumatizing, but this is another one that's set in an academy, but it's kind of like if Oxford and Cambridge merged together and a piece of it split off, that's our magical school.
Ooh.
And we're set in the times of World War One, but it's like if World War One had fairy magic involved, and not fays, not like the hot fays, like fairies, like actual, like, you know, scary fairies. Not the love interest types of fairies. Just had to clarify that. But this one's another one. Great. I would say it's like maybe medium to advanced, just because I don't know. There is a little bit more specifics of how to create these fairy doors. But this one's wonderful. So those are my historical fantasy recs. Moving into cozy fantasy, though, since I'm in such a cozy fantasy mood.
Area of expertise.
Yeah. My beginner ones are number 1, The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. This one borders on magical realism because there's only a little bit of magic in it, but this one's so cozy. If you loved reading as a kid, you need to read this book. It draws on all of those nostalgia feelings of falling in love with like reading and magic as a kid and then seeing those magical worlds kind of like come to life almost in a way because you like visit the setting of your favorite books. Really, really wonderful, easy to follow. I don't know. I think it's a great beginner cozy fantasy. And if you love reading, you will love The Wishing Game. And then my second one is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. Obviously, so cute. We follow like a household of magical children, and I don't know. I don't want to say
It's
anymore.
the most
You just have to
wholesome book.
dive into
so
it.
cute.
It feels like a hug. It's
It
wonderful.
really does. I only had put one down for this one because I also had House on the Cerulean Sea in my mind whenever I think of cozy fantasy. But obviously another classic, Emily Watts' Encyclopedia of Fairies. I feel like when you think of cozy fantasy, to be honest, the marketing for this was incredible because like the cover just gives cozy fantasy. Like that's what you want when you go into a cozy fantasy. So yeah, I mean, we've talked about this one so many times, so I feel like I don't need to go over the synopsis, but it's really like when you're in that right mood and you can cuddle up on the couch with a cup of tea. I feel like with cozy fantasy, just don't expect anything crazy plot-wise. Apparently in not for the cat shelter, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, most of it's cozy and then it just blows up at the end. Okay, for advanced though, cozy fantasy, this one was difficult to find. I think both of us were having trouble because like cozy, I feel like implies that it's going to be kind of basic, like easy to follow. But I kind of thought of Sorcery and Small Magics by Mega Ducey. This one is just slightly more involved than your usual cozy fantasy because there is a little bit of a more involved magic system. It requires 2 different people. So you have a writer of spells and then you have a person who can cast the spell. And so there's just like a little bit more. There's a few more rules involved. And so it's just slightly more advanced. But like, is it really advanced? I don't know. It's just more advanced compared to the other ones.
But yeah, this is a hard subgenre. I feel like I put A River Enchanted for the reason, like by Rebecca Ross, but for the reason that it has cozy fantasy elements. But I would say this is definitely more like it's got a pretty strong plot. Like it's definitely not one I kind of went in expecting it was like more of a slow moving book and I was just there for the vibes. But it definitely has quite like an intense plot for lack of better words. But it still has those kind of classic cozy feels about it. Like it kind of feels like getting like the whole world like with spirits and, you know, it's like this little island we're following our protagonist to. It's just very whimsical is probably the best way to describe it. So I feel like if you want to graduate from cozy fantasy but still have the like reminiscent element of it, this is a good one.
I think it feels like a cozy mystery, almost like a cozy mystery with fantasy in it.
Yeah,
and that's what gives it the cozy vibe. Oh, love it. Okay, we have one more category that we need to go into. So this one is actual the magical realism category. And the one I chose for this one is The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrian Young, which is actually another one that Freya needs to read, guys.
Yeah, I I haven't ever been like a lot of the books I've been like really itching to read. I have never really been drawn to this one because I'm not really a magical realism girl. I've found out. It's
But
difficult for me to wrap my head around.
I will say this one, it doesn't feel like other magical realism books that I've
Okay.
read. And I don't want to say anything more because you just kind of have to go into it.
Yeah, okay.
It's a mystery, but there's some magical things happening.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say
Okay.
what. But it's really good. And the tension in the
Okay.
romance in this one is so good. And that's like the mystery and the tension is what keeps you going. And just in your mind, it's another one where you read it and you're like, what is going on? Like I'm getting this information, but none of it is adding up and I don't know what's happening. And it keeps you going. It's very addictive. You need to read this one. You do.
Okay.
I'm just
Add it to the list.
yes, please.
The only one I could think of for this, well, actually, I could think of a few, but one that I do like to recommend is Just Before the Coffee Gets Cold. We all know this one. But I just think it's like really the definition of magical realism. Like you're set in a very ordinary world, but add a little twist of magic where there's a magical coffee store that can take you back in time to your past memories. So I feel like is a really great like definition of magical realism, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one that I did, like it's a very short book, so it's not gonna bore you or anything, I feel like, because it's so little. You're just there for a quick little time.
Yeah. It's also because it's split up into a bunch of little short stories.
Yeah.
It keeps you going because each one you're like learning about a new person and finding out about their story. So it doesn't
Yeah.
get old. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
feel boring, which is great.
Yeah. That's cute. But those are all our subgenres.
Yeah.
I feel like there's probably, there's definitely subgenres within those subgenres and genre
So
blends and everything like that. But I hope it gives you a bit of an outline.
Yeah, a little bit of a rundown of like, I guess the main fantasy recs that we tend to put out there and where they
Yeah.
belong and like what you should go for if you kind of know what you're craving. I hope you guys loved this one. If there are any more recs that belong in any of these categories, definitely let us know in the comments. We always love seeing your recs as well. Also, let's all please convince Freya to read all the books that I wanted her to read.
Look, we
in
act like I'm
this
not trying. I'm
list.
trying my best.
You're doing
I'm getting
no,
it
you're doing
through.
good. You're getting to recursion next.
Yeah. I just did Broken Country. I feel like I did another one of yours recently as well. But we're getting there.
We're getting there. We're getting there. We just have to keep shouting. It'll
Yeah.
get there.
Apparently.
But okay, guys, if you guys are still here listening to the end, thank you for listening wherever you are in the world or whatever time zone you're in.
Until next time, stay comfy and keep reading.
Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on socials for more bookish content.
Bye. See you next week.